Hello everybody, I'm the Escapist and we're gonna be looking at the Grudge 2020 today. Yeah, it's January and as you know, producers start looking to make something, anything, and shove it in a January time slot. And that's how we got yet another Grudge because we all know we desperately needed it. But don't worry my friend, because I went to the theaters and watched this incredibly fantastic movie so you wouldn't have to. And let me tell you, what's worse than a bad movie is a boring one. So let's get to it. Obviously, full spoilers, but it doesn't really matter now, does it? The movie starts in Tokyo, obviously, with the character of Fiona, and it was actually a good start. As she's leaving the building, she notices a trash bag is moving, as if it was breathing, and then the ghost lady appears right behind her to scare the audience watching this poor lady's life. So apparently, she takes the curse with her to the US where all the movie happens. Then we cut to this lady, Detective Muldoon, and her son, who I'm gonna call the kid, because honestly I don't remember his name or find it anywhere on the interweb. The kid is worried about his first day of school, and she's like, "Don't be scared." And casually mentions that she's a police officer, as any mother would to her son on their everyday chat. She says, "What do we do when we're scared?" And the kid says, "We close our eyes and count to 5. Ooh, I wonder when this is gonna come into play later in the movie. Next, we're introduced to Detective Goodman and the exposition guy giving some exposition about Detective Muldoon losing her husband, which does not have any impact on the story whatsoever. As a matter of fact, Goodman is only an exposition device and literally does nothing that affects the story in any shape or form. Goodman and Muldoon drive down to a crime scene with a mangled body in a car, and the cop there is like, "Oh, this reminds me of the Landers case. You know, Fiona Landers, the first lady we saw in the opening shot. Why does it remind him of that? I have no idea. It was obviously brought up to get Muldoon interested in looking into the house and becoming a victim of the curse. She gets some jump scares, like when she fills the bathroom sink to wash her face. Does anybody really do that? Just fill the whole sink to wash their face? Or do people just do that when somebody's about to push their head in there and drown them? Or the car window jump scare, which that one really got me. I didn't expect that at all. I gotta hand the writers this one, expressing how stressed out she is, but showing her smoking, since in the car ride with Goodman before she mentions that she has quit smoking. So she starts looking into the Landers case and finds some other related cases, and we kinda see what happens to those people in those cases. So the plot of this movie is all over the place. They cut to several different storylines that happen at different times in parallel, and it would have been really interesting if the characters weren't only introduced to be cannon fodder. There is really no connection between them except the house they all stepped in at some point, and we never really even begin to care about any of them. Most of them we actually already know that are gonna die, so no suspense there. Story 1 is about William and his wife Faith. Faith apparently has a terminal disease, which I guess I missed, and he hires a woman called Moody to perform euthanasia. Moody tells him that the person to be euthanized has to be of sound mind, and of course, Faith isn't. How are we supposed to feel right now? This tonal shift just destroys any suspenseful atmosphere they had created so far. Poor Lin Shaye is such a great actress, but they just drag her down with these poorly written horror movies. Now, as I was watching Jackie Weaver as Moody in this film, I couldn't help but to think how some actors are just perfect for a role in horror movies. Like, remember Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man? I remember he was scarier himself than when he wore the Green Goblin mask. Or remember the Nun actress? She honestly needed only some makeup to portray the darkest chapter. The darkest chapter. So even though Faith is not mentally fitting for euthanasia, Moody stays in the house for some reason, and then there's an awkward scene with her and William deciding who goes to the supermarket to buy stuff for dinner. The weird kind of meat she sees on display there just reminded me of how they were cutting and serving bodies in Silent Hill 2. Way better movie in comparison. And there we get the jump scare that for a second a little ghost girl is holding Moody's hand. All that setup, shopping for dinner, walking through supermarket aisles, just for this so short, so pointless jump scare. And this happens a lot in this movie. When she comes back, she finds Detective Wilson, Goodman's old partner, just standing in the rain staring at a house. So William calls Goodman to pick him up, and in the car, as Goodman is talking, Wilson just takes out a gun and shoots himself in the face. And I can't help but to think how terrible a detective Goodman is. Like, man, do you not even have peripheral vision, my friend? Eventually, Detective Muldoon goes to the asylum to see Wilson, and he looks like the guy from Hannibal. And all I'm thinking during the scene is like, how are you still alive? Does the Grudge Ghost just keep some people alive because the writers need them? Later, we get another jump scare with Faith and Moody, and that is literally what it takes for her to believe the house is haunted.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Suddenly we cut to Moody comically zipping up her suitcase to run away, and people just burst in laughter in the theater. What the hell is going on with this movie? It was just so out of place and just a kick to the groins of the tone of this movie. Of course, before she leaves, she finds that Faith has killed William and now is chopping her fingers off. So she drives away in terror, and then we realize the body we saw at the beginning was hers. But nope, they couldn't even let us have this. They showed the same shot of the body as if they were telling us, hey, people, if you weren't paying attention or just forgot, here's what happened to her from earlier. Eventually, when Muldoon goes to the house, she finds Faith and she is transported to the hospital, where she jumps to her death. Story 2, Peter and Nina, the realtors that sold Landers the house. Nina's pregnant and the doctor says the baby has a high chance of having ALD. I had no idea what that was until I googled it. Does it affect the story at all? Nope. Of course we get the shower scene. Just exactly how it was before, just with Peter instead of Sarah Michelle Gellar, whom honestly I kinda preferred for the shower scene, you know? They didn't even make an effort to change anything about it. Like instead a foot comes out of his butt? I don't know, anything. Apparently Peter still needs Lander's signature, and their little girl opens the door and starts bleeding from her nose, which makes Peter to get in the house to spend the day with her for some reason. And then of course we get the tub scene. At least this one was kinda different, and interestingly both of this one and the shower scene were just fully in the trailer. So Peter runs down in panic and gets stopped by the mama ghost, so he jumps in the closet where half of the screen is pitch black behind him. Like, obviously she's just gonna appear in there. Finally, Nina finds him standing in the kitchen holding the scissors. He kills her with it. I don't know if there is any symbolism with the scissors and her being pregnant and the baby having ALD. Leave a comment if you think there is, or I'm just overestimating how much the writers actually care when writing this. Okay, so finally it's Muldoon's turn, and she's been getting a bunch of pointless jump scares, and mostly with the little girl's father, Fiona's husband. And that is the biggest crime of this movie, that replaced the horrifying ghost of the previous movies with an average middle-aged white male. Just take a look at how horrifying the first American Grudge movie was. To this day, I get so terrified to see that. The way she just comes down the stairs, just generally coming down the stairs could be really scary.
Oh my god.
Well, this one doesn't really look that horrifying anymore, but I saw this as a teenager and it was the scariest thing I had ever seen in my life. I gotta say, this one was a really good jump scare too, which was also in the trailer. This time the kid tells her what they do when they're scared, and she closes her eyes and counts to 5. Finally, she decides to burn the house down and takes her kid with her and leaves him in the car. Like she couldn't even give Goodman one purpose in this movie. She emphasizes to him, whatever happens, stay in the car. And what's the first thing that happens when she tries to burn the house down? The kid shows up in the house. The guy sitting next to me was literally like, and I was thinking, that is not her son. That would be the dumbest thing right now. The kid says, I'm scared, and she says, what do we do when we're scared? But the kid doesn't say anything. And I was like, this is it. She repeats, what do we do when we're scared? Maybe just one too many times. And he still doesn't say anything. And that's when she figures out it's not actually her son and throws out the lighter. Now, the ghost in the first Grudge movie didn't do all these shenanigans. So yeah, the house burned down and it's the happy ending and the kid is ready to go to school. Of course it's a scary movie, so you know how it's supposed to end. Don't you hate it that while you're hugging your son, you hear him saying, "Mom, I'm going to school," from the other room? So that was Grudge.